What's going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for the Final Strike, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery. And we have brought a special guest on today from across the pond, one of our fellow Orioles fans from O's across the pond, Thomas. We're going to introduce him, let him tell you a little bit about himself and what they do. If you are a fellow member of Birdland, you know a lot about what they do and you've listened to their podcast. Thomas, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us. Please introduce yourself to the Birdland community who should know you, but let them know who you are and what you all do.
Yeah, Stephen, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it, for the pair of us to get together and talk Orioles.
It is.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, I'm the host, editor, writer for the O's Across the Pond podcast. Come from a network of European Orioles fans that was set up by a English guy called Matthew, who you'll know on X is British Orioles. He's been over to Camden Yards an awful lot. For me, why Baltimore? I'm a veteran of the armed forces. I've visited America on a deployment in 2010, and I stopped in Baltimore for 2 weeks. Since then, I've everything Baltimore, whether it's Ravens, Orioles, the city, the people, just the atmosphere, just everything. Just feels like a place, home from home. So yeah, I was out there 8 weeks ago. Got to meet up with Zach from the Battery. So it's good, and I get to talk baseball every day, and I get to meet people like you as well, Stephen.
It's been a pleasure, honestly. From the first conversation we ever had, to the first time we tried to get together on air,
Yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure. Listening to what you all have done, the people you've interviewed and met. You all have a tremendous following, and what you are doing over there,
Hmm.
especially with the time difference, is just tremendous. And it's great that you all are bringing baseball over to your part of the world, especially at the time difference, being able to talk about baseball as well and thoroughly as deep as you have. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. And thank you for being a part of our community and, all the support that you give us as well, because, as much as I like to talk about you all have been tremendous in supporting us as well. And I thank you for that. So big shout out to you for that as well.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Stephen. And when we first started off doing this, and for me, it was just about reaching out to as many people. I'm not like afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of people saying no. So for me, it was just reaching out to as many people, trying to kind of get a bit of support together, um, and just network with people. And it's been fantastic, as you say. We've interviewed some fantastic guests. We've had Ryan Ripken on. Um, we had Josh Soroka on the other day. We've had Jacob Calvin Meyer from the Baltimore Sun, and it's been outstanding. We've had a couple of guys on from Masson, so it's been excellent, but it has been hard work, especially with the time zone difference. And one thing is that all of us that are involved in it, you know, baseball is a love of ours, and we also try and treat it with the respect that it deserves. It's America's favorite pastime, and we're mindful that we are a couple of Brits from across the pond talking about it. So we try to have um, well-educated and informed views where possible.
You all have some really great views, honestly. I mean, the first time we talked um about the Orioles, we had a great conversation. I think we were on close to about an hour and a half, and
Yeah,
the insights that we shared, unfortunately, we were unable to share with everybody, but
yeah,
the insight that we shared with each other, it was just amazing that the knowledge and in-depth information that you all had. Um,
yeah,
from somebody who actually is here in America to have everything that I have, and then to see that you all have that plus and the tight knit relationship that you all have with each other to be able to talk about it. and bring that over to your country, it's really
Yeah.
impressive. And like you say, you try to give that respect. You have that respect and more that you brought to that game over there. And like I
Mhm.
said, it's tremendous what you all have done. It's tremendous the following you all have built. And yeah, I know we were talking earlier about this with the series, a series of possibly coming over there next year. Um,
Mhm.
one of your partners on the show is asked to be an ambassador for that, correct?
Yeah, so, Matthew, he's been elected to the MLB Fan Council, which is huge for, you know, anyone from the UK to kinda get that responsibility and the privilege to be involved in that, so that's exciting for him, but it's exciting for everybody involved, and it's exciting for other baseball fans in the UK that I'm, traveling, across the country on Sunday to go to, like, a UK baseball meetup, so there's the fans of, I think, New York Mets, Texas Rangers. There's gonna be a group of fans, all 30 teams in baseball, have got a following, have got a support network in the UK, whether it's as simple as a WhatsApp group or, an X account. And for us, yeah, we enjoy talking about the Orioles. We are an Orioles-based podcast, but we've had people on from, New York Mets UK came on to discuss the series with them, earlier on in the season. So it's just it's about driving the growth of the game, and the growth of the game in the UK is huge. Team GB have just won the under-23s European Baseball Championships. It's just to give the listeners a scope um the difference in the size of the game in the UK and the US. Earlier on this year, the first ever scholarship from a university was handed out to a baseball player in the UK. The first one, and that's monumental for the growth of the game. So now the starting to look at this at universities and colleges across the UK and think, we'll offer scholarships out for this. So that just shows how much the game has grown, but how far it has to go to. It'll never catch up, but it can get competitive. Team GB are over next year for the World Baseball Classic. We'll be over there for that. Hopefully Team GB can carry on the good form that they've shown over the last couple of years.
That's the one thing I like about the World Baseball Classic is it brings literally the world together in what is such a great sport. I love football, I love baseball, American football. Let me rephrase that: American
Yeah,
football and baseball. I do love soccer too, but it's what's fun is watching like when American sports travel over to different countries. When you look at the fans in the stadiums, it's not specifically just the two teams playing that are being represented there. You see jerseys and hats and shirts and flags of all different teams of that
yeah,
sport being represented and supported. And that's one of the things I love is that in the UK, in England, Germany and all those other countries that the US sports go to, there's a love for the sport more so than just the teams. Whereas
yeah,
over here, it's a love for the teams, not just the sport. And I think
yeah,
that's one of the things that we as Americans sometimes forget. The love of the game is what's being missed as much as the love for the team is. And
yeah,
it's something that I feel as Americans need to honestly sit back and take a lesson from other countries. Because when you look at, like the Nippon League or the Japanese League, the way they don't just worship a player or a team, they worship the entire sport and
yeah,
they take pride in the entire sport. Look at how soccer is over in England. It's really a love of the sport. And yeah, there's a
yeah,
competition between the teams and everything, but the sport in itself is truly appreciated for the togetherness that it brings in the community. And sometimes it's one of the things I feel over here in America that we take for granted and we forget about. I love
Do
when I see what you all are doing. Go ahead.
yeah, I think
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
when you in regards to like the love of the sport and the team, like in the UK, obviously soccer, it's like a religion. When I go across to the states, I do feel the love that Americans have for the sport of baseball, but I also think baseball down the years has been through a lot of um, kind of what would you say crises with various issues and you had the performance enhancing drug scandal in the early 2000s, and then again in 2014 with A Rod, and then you've had shutouts, a full season lost with it was only a 62 game season because of COVID. There's going to be another shutout in 27. That's pretty much almost guaranteed. How much game time is gonna be lost there. So I think
Sadly,
people
but
love
true.
the game, but I kind of think that I think because there has been so much that's gone on, I think people lose sight of that, and then in small moments, like it comes back, but it's not consistent. For me, why I love baseball, and it was evident last weekend that that the Dodgers game was a game two, nearly got no hit. In baseball, you have to throw 27 outs. You can't run the clock down. You can't take a knee. You can't time waste. You can't spike the ball. You play until the 27th out, unless you go to obviously extras. And then being a Ravens fan, watched the football the other night, and clock management and all that comes into it. Whereas with baseball, you know you've got to throw those 27 outs. Don't throw them. The game's not over.
Baseball's a giant chess match. It's one
Yeah.
manager playing their strategy against another manager to see who's going to take control of the game. I mean, it's one way, like you say. It's 27 outs. They were 26 outs away from being no hit, and all it took was one hit to change the entire complexity of the game.
On two strikes as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're literally down to your last strike.
Yeah.
And ironically, just bit of history to add to this. Ironically, the last time that it actually happened to the Baltimore Orioles happened when Davy Johnson did it, who ironically passed away that day.
Yeah. The stars aligned. Somebody was
So
looking
just a
over.
little bit of history to Yep, a little bit of history to add into that, especially on the day that memorialized Cal Ripken's 30th anniversary of breaking the consecutive game streak.
Yeah.
So, Jared and me both were supposed to be at that game. Unfortunately, I was not feeling well. Jared was not feeling well. The threat of rain in the area kind of worried about the game not actually being played. And with us
Hmm.
being almost 3 hours away from there, kind of questioned if we would go up there, the game being rained out, and then having to turn around and come back. But glad the game got played. Glad it turned out the way it turned out.
Definitely.
um, Funny enough, I actually turned the game off in the 7th inning, sadly. I did have some family over here, so I didn't even pick up on anything until I heard Jackson Holliday homered, and I turned the game back on and actually got to witness the end of the game.
Hmm.
Excuse me. So I missed 1 and 2/3 innings of play.
I mean, at least you tuned. At least you started watching
But
again at the
since we
right
are here to
time.
talk about the Orioles, I did. I did. I was lucky and fortunate. But since we are here to talk about the Orioles, um,
Hmm.
Orioles are 8-1 in September. A lot of good things have happened. The young gun rookies, Paseo, Beavers, and Jeremiah Johnson, I like to call them Jay and the Killer Bees, have been a breath of fresh air to the team. Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells returning, and Albert Suarez have actually boosted the pitching staff. Um, Seeing with how everything has transpired since the middle of August up until now, how does that kinda make you feel going towards the end of the season as we prepare to go into 2026?
It's a lot of positivity. It's worth knowing that we've been playing 500 baseball for a prolonged period of time. There's a body of work now with this team. Kyle Bradish coming back was the big one. Coincidentally, I was when I was in Baltimore. I went up to Aberdeen and I saw his rehab start. Um, that's huge. You know, and he got pulled after 4 innings. I think on his second start, but just having Kyle Bradish back is outstanding. I mean, it sounds weird now, but he's not going to be your number one starter next year. He's going to be your number two. Trevor Rogers is going to be the number one, in my opinion. So to have that is outstanding. Wells coming back is huge. Slightly concerned, obviously, because he's had injury issues before. The fact that he had an internal brace as well fitted that can looking into the stats and there can be further issues and more injuries with that than a straightforward Tommy John, but it's huge. Albert Suarez is another one. When you look at it, I didn't think we'd see him pitch this year when he went down early on in the season. I didn't think we'd see him,
I didn't
but
either.
he he's under. I think he's under contract until 28. I think has he got another 2-3 years, so he's going to be huge next year. And with the fact is that there's a whole bullpen that needs rebuilding there. Suarez coming back gives you that flexibility because he can go in the bullpen. He can be a long man in the bullpen, but also he can be a spot starter for you. We saw that from him last year. It's we'll talk about some of the young guns in a shortly, but again, it's another kind of tick in the box with Michael Elias to say I can find these talents, I can find these players, and over a period of time, these players come good. But it's huge. The starting rotation going into next year, if they can bring in, they definitely need to bring in one more. Um, you know, Hopefully Grayson Rodriguez is fit, gets through spring training. I know he's had surgery now, and he was scheduled to be back for the start of spring training. That is the only concern
His
for me.
I agree. He is a big question mark right now just because of the last 3 years. But apparently, according to the surgery he had, he should be able to actually have a normal offseason
Mhm.
for the first time in the last 3 years, which is big. If things progress, I personally think Rodriguez should be your third starter anyway. Whether it's Bradish Rogers or Rogers Bradish, I'd put Rodriguez as your third starter. Wells keeps pitching the way he's pitching. You can add Wells as your fourth starter, and then you can have Kramer or Pavitz as your fifth starter, and then the other one go to the bullpen. Um,
Mm.
Kramer's got 1 year left on his contract. Pavitz, we've got plenty of time with, so I mean, even him having him in the bullpen for a year would not hurt. I could even see Pavitz just because of the stuff he carries being a setup or closer role for a year. Um, but either way, if you put Kramer or Povich in the bullpen, that does give you the flexibility along with Suarez to have that long relief swing starter role. Then you
Yeah.
can focus on getting yourself a proper closer, a proper setup man. And I still would add another left-hander just because you can't keep Keegan Aiken as your only lefty, and depending if Povich is in there or not. But we definitely are going into next season once again the way it should have been this year, with at least 7 or 8 people who can start in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean,
Because Brandon Young will be back.
Brandon Young will be back. The with Povich, I've had this conversation a couple of times on our podcast. I'd like to see him moved into the bullpen. I think he can be kind of a long man setup guy. He can pitch because you know we've seen it time and time again this season. He can pitch excellent stuff for 2-3 innings, but then something just changes. The hits start coming in, and he'll give up that home run. He kind of falls apart. So I would like to see him in the bullpen. However, with the amount of time that we have him for, I wouldn't be surprised if he started the year down at AAA as a starter, and we will see him again next year as a starter. I think Dean Kramer with a year left and a walk here, I think he'll back himself. Look, he's shown good things at times this season, but there's also been some bad things. But if he's going to be a fifth man in the rotation, you can live with that if you've got Trevor Rogers, Kyle Bradish, um, Grayson Rodriguez, or
A
Wells as
healthy
your third
Grayson.
or fourth man. And if you can make a move in the off season, be aggressive in the off season. Know, for me, first base is very, very crowded. First base is very, very crowded on that roster spot now. So you look at the out of the two that are on first base, who do you move on? And that's a decision that Elias will make. I think one of them will be moved. Um,
Oh yeah.
I I also, I mean, I don't think it'll happen, but I think they might listen to some serious offers. Adley's only got 2 years of arbitration left, and if they want to get a top end arm in that rotation, it could be a valuable trade piece. I know he's been poor for over 12 months now, um, but a catcher with his upside and 2 years of control left, that'd be something that teams could shop for. But that would take a huge offer. As I say, I don't think that will happen, but that is something that I think that Mike Elias would possibly listen to.
With the right trade, I think so. You're right there, but I think at this point, we Adley is in the best position right now to go offer him an extension because it's going to be a low ball extension. And what I mean by that is if Adley was playing like he was the first year and a half he was with us, you'd probably be looking at a 5 year, 250, $300 million contract. Whereas right now you can probably get away with a 5 year, 150, maybe $180 million contract. And with Paseo also going to be playing some first base, which has already been said, you're going to be able to platoon whoever's at first base with Paseo and Adley being platooning with Paseo. Plus, all three of them will be able to rotate through the DH, which is
Yeah.
good. I personally am not a fan of having two catchers in the lineup at the same time. We saw what happened this year when one of them went down. We lost our DH, unless you plan on carrying a third catcher.
I think they will carry
I'm
a
not a
third
fan of.
catcher.
It's possible. It is very possible. Um, Adley, I think having Adley and Baseo together will benefit both of them. I think it'll benefit Adley because Adley's not going to want to lose his spot predominantly to a guy who's 5 years younger than him.
Hmm.
Whereas Baseo needs to get better defensively, and who better to teach him than Adley, who is a strong defensive catcher. So it could benefit both of them. Adley on the offensive side, Baseo on the defensive side, to keep both of them together. And even if you do trade Adley in 2 or 3 years, you still have that lockup that you're not going to let him walk or even hold out demanding a contract. The
Hmm.
other reason I think that comes into play is because then you have Baseo and Adley locked up, which shows that you're looking to lock up your young players. Then you can start working on your Hendersons, your Westbergs, your Holidays, your Kausers. And I'm sorry, right now, I even think you might have to offer Jeremiah Jackson a 3 year deal because that kid can hit everything that comes his way right now. He's turned into a good quality outfielder. He should be our fourth outfielder next year.
Yeah,
Um,
Jeremiah.
I mean,
It's inter-
good.
Yeah, it's interesting with Jeremiah Jackson. It's a surprise because when you look at his background. He was drafted in 2018 by the Angels. He was, second round pick. Straight out of high school, where I think he was batting around 627, 15 home runs down in Alabama. He's bounced around the minors with
Yeah.
the Angels. He went and played some fall league ball, and then he seems to be another one of those players that in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic and the minor leagues shutting down kind of affected him. And obviously, he's then ended up went to the Mets in exchange. He went across to LA. Dominic Leone was it? He went across. Um, he didn't really do much then. Obviously, he's landed with the O's this year, and as I said to you, Stephen, before we came on air, it's kind of another one of those players where you can criticize Mike Elias's roster management at times, but what you can't criticize him is he's the best in the league at scouting talent and drafting talent. And this is another one of them.
Yeah.
At the start of the season, did we expect what we expected from Ramon Laureano? And you look at what we got.
No,
It
he surprised me.
for a package at the trade deadline for him. Ryan O'Hearn, another one from when he came in. After being traded from the Royals, and then he was DFA'd 2 days later, and you're thinking, what's going on here? And how Ryan O'Hearn turned out. Trevor Rogers, another one. So there's a body of work where you can see that these players that Mike Elias finds end up going on to be worth something more than what people thought was imaginable. I th- with the
I've got a controversial statement to
Go on,
make.
sorry, yeah, go on.
No, you're fine. It actually it addresses Ryan O'Hearn, but I would not be upset if we got rid of Kobe Mayo and Ryan Mountcastle and re-signed Ryan O'Hearn. Like, I really would not find any fault in that at all, because his defense and his bat are far superior than both of them.
um, yeah, his
And
bat's
having
far
him for another
superior.
couple of years while Paseo learns the position, nah,
You know, his bat is far superior. Ryan Mountcastle's is struggled now for year after year after year. Yeah, he hasn't been the same since when he suffered from vertigo. I like Kobe Mayo, but Kobe Mayo has to this last month of the season, and since the start of September, there's been an upturn in form. But between now and the end of September, he needs to be lights out I think to even be in consideration for an opening day roster spot. As I said, I think first base is crowded. One of them is going to get moved. I think in the off season, I don't think you can hold on to the two of them, Samuel Basayo, and then carry a third catcher. It just doesn't. It just doesn't work. The roster management does not work that way.
no,
So
I
one
agree
of
with you. My friend,
one of them is going.
Ivan and me have been talking about the same thing. He thinks we keep Mountcastle and get rid of Mayo. I kind of am leaning the other way just because Mountcastle. Now, see, here's the thing: is Mountcastle's only 5 years in the league too. I think a lot of people forget Mountcastle's still relatively young. So
Hmm.
even if we sign him to an extension, it's not a bad thing. His defense is pretty good, but Mayo's defense has gotten a lot better at first base. Um, I think what's hurting most our players on our team, especially when you look across the board at a lot of their batting averages, is the fact that we have twin hitting coaches, and this experiment's gone on for 3 years. We had two hitting coaches for 2 years, and then we got two new hitting coaches. I think you're confusing players with that. Got mail. And unfortunately, I think if you get one hitting coach with an assistant that shares the same philosophy, you can turn a lot of these players' seasons into more productive seasons. Because I've seen way too many games where our batters will watch pitches come straight down the middle of the plate and not swing at all. And then they'll swing at pitches that are up here in their eyes or 3 inches off the zone of the plate and look confused when it comes straight down the pipe. I'm like, what are we doing here? How are we missing out on these prime pitches and the pitches we shouldn't be swinging at? We're trying to jack out of the park.
It's
I
the
don't know what
the
we're missing there. It's driving me crazy.
the hitting definitely does need addressing. It again, that has been something that it hasn't just been this season. It's the back end of last season. You look at the record post the All-Star break last season. It was poor. The hitting was poor. Something that's carried on over into this season. Obviously, the struggles against lefty pitching was evident early on in the season. It's not as bad now, but it is still a struggle. And you bring in someone like Tyler O'Neill to correct that. And I've just been praising Mike Elias, but that's a move where I don't think there's one too many GMs that make that move. When you look at it, he's only played over 100 games in the big leagues twice in his career. He struggles with injuries.
What
He's got a player option. This is one that I was going to ask you. Tyler O'Neill, did he just dump his contract
we're
in the off
stuck with him for
season?
2 more years. We're
You
stuck
can't
with him.
you can't see them dumping his
I mean,
contract.
he $32 million. We're stuck with him. We're already paying Chris Davis dead money. I can't see us paying Tyler O'Neill. If Tyler O'Neill can stay healthy, he's an asset because when he was healthy, he was hitting. I will give him that. I would personally just play him as a DH, honestly. That's the only benefit you can get with him because if you put him in the field, he's gonna get a hangnail or break his ankle.
Yeah,
And
the
the guy's bat is valuable.
the issue you've got with them being DHs, though, as we just said, you've got Samuel Basayo, Adley Rushman, one of whoever's going to be on first base next year, DHing. So when you're paying a guy 32 million, if he's fit, he's going to have to be playing.
Maybe you try to trade him. Maybe you try to
I
trade
think
him and take on a bad contract from somebody else.
I think, as I say, I think there's one of three things obviously is going to happen. We're stuck with him next year because he's got a player option. Two, they dump his contract, or
For 2
three, they
years.
trade him and yeah, or three, they trade him and try and dump his contract that way. But
He
either
would
way,
be a
it's an issue.
complete
That's an issue
fool.
that needs addressing.
Tyler O'Neill would be a complete fool if he didn't pick up his player option because there's nobody in baseball who was going to pay him 16.5 million for the next 2 years with what he did this season. He'd be lucky if anybody offered him $8 million a year.
Yeah,
He picks up his player option, he's getting 16.5 million this year or next season and this following season. So we're on the hook for 32 million unless somebody picks him up. And the way I see it and what I didn't realize is like some of the trades we made this year, we actually sent money over in the trades. I didn't realize
yeah,
that. That was never announced in the trades. But as I started reading further into the trades, we actually sent some money over in a lot of the trades we made in order to help make those trades happen, which I'm fine because I love the trades we made. Don't get me wrong. Between the trades we made and the draft we had, we got strong returns out of that. And a lot of that capital is going to be utilized this offseason to try and either get a very strong closer or another front line starter that was similar to Corbin Burns. And it's not going to be on a 1 year deal. It's going to be a frontline starter that we can actually control for 2-3 years. And
mm,
honestly, I would personally love it to be Sandy Alcantara. I still think next year is going to be a big year for him because he's going to be a year removed from that Tommy John surgery. And we will see the Sandy Alcantara that we saw 2 years ago, not the one we saw this past year.
yeah. Sandy Alcantara is one that I mentioned around about the trade deadline. Well, just before the trade deadline, because I was thinking if the O's can get 4 or 5 games back at the deadline of the wild card, and could they try and make a trade then for Sandy Alcantara, bring him in, and you've still got 2.5 years of control. As you say, it'll be a year. He'll be a year out from Tommy John. Then he's pitched some great stuff this season. He's also pitched some bad things. He is one. you know, do you take a gamble on a Dylan
Well, we know
Cease?
I am not a fan of Dylan Cease, never have been. When
Okay.
when we were rumored to be going in for Dylan Cease, I was hopeful that we never got him. And it's nothing against the guy because I know he does have talent, don't get me wrong. I just I don't think he's a fit for our team. And there's just a vibe I get when I see him pitch that it doesn't work. Like, he kinda reminds me of Jack Flaherty when we first got Jack Flaherty. Like, I like Jack Flaherty, I was really hoping he'd resurrect his career, but once he got there, he pitched that one game, and then after that, it's like, it's not working, and that's kinda what I feel
Yeah.
like with Dylan Cease when he get there. It's like he just doesn't fit, and like I said, nothing against the guy, I know a lot of people would love to see him in Baltimore. I just don't think he's that guy, and at best, I think he's no more than a 3 or 4 starter. I I don't think he's a frontline starter.
No, but he's
Uh,
he
I
would
could be wrong.
he would I get what you're saying. He isn't a 1, 2, 3 starter, but he's an upgrade on Tomoyuki Sagano. He's an upgrade on Charlie Morton, especially the first 12 games of Charlie Morton. He's an upgrade
Oh,
on
yeah.
Zach Eflin.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
So
I will agree with
if
that.
you can bring that kind of caliber player in and not have to rely on trying to find someone for a year, I think it's a sensible move. But obviously, it's also got to be, is the fit right?
But see, like, I'd take a Blake Snell. I mean, that you go after somebody like that, a Blake Snell, or I know a lot of people this past offseason were high on Max Fried. I knew we wouldn't get Max Fried just because I knew what he was looking for contract wise. But
Yeah,
a pitcher of that caliber is what we need. Going after somebody who's going to slot in, I mean, you might as well just keep Dean Kramer then. At that
yeah.
point, if you're going to go after a Crochet, might as well keep Dean Kramer because Dean Kramer's basically the same type of pitcher. He'll give you some big games, but he's also going to give you some sloppy games. And that's honestly what Crochet reminds me of. Big, he'll give you some big games and he'll give you some bad games.
I know, but Crochet's he's second in the Cy Young race. He's obviously not going to win the Cy Young. We know who's going to win that. He's had a great season. I don't think we'll ever get that from
Mm,
Dean Kramer. Look, Dean Kramer's an Oriole next year. He'll
no,
probably be the fourth or fifth man.
that people are discounting. I was looking the pitcher power rankings today. Trevor Rogers has worked his way into fifth in the pitcher power rankings. If Rogers pitches the way he does, I mean, he's got another 3 starts in him this year. If he finishes the season, say he finishes 11-2, does he get Cy Young talk?
He he'd be entitled to. Does he hit the criteria? Will he have enough innings pitched? I think
He'd
you'd have
have,
to look
I
at.
mean, he's got 92 innings pitched, I think. Let me hold on a minute. I could be wrong. Let me double check that. I think he's at 92 innings pitched right now. He pitches tomorrow, so hold on a minute. Let me look. He's at 95 innings pitched. Let's say he goes 7 innings over his next 3 starts. That's 21 innings. That gives him 118 innings. That gives him 18 starts, and he'd be 11-2. I mean, when you think
He'd
about
be,
it, there's been closers who have won the Cy Young with a lot less.
yeah. Who was it a guy from the Phillies that won it in 2016 or might have been was it 2019? Or he should have won it, but I'm trying to remember. I saw a tweet about it the other day. But Sean was talking about Trevor Rogers, but Trevor Rogers has been phenomenal all year. I remember when he very first pitched in Boston, and I think he gave up 3 hits, and since then he's only gave up 3 hits. I think twice since then. He's been
Yeah,
outstanding.
Trevor Rogers is The thing about Trevor Rogers is he's when you look at the his game logs, like, I mean, he's got he's pitched 15 games, he's got 13 quality starts. He's given up 3 home runs all season, and he's only given up more than 2 earned runs once, and that is against Tampa Bay on June 18th. He's pitched less than he pitched June 18th, he pitched 2 1/3 innings when he gave up 3 earned runs. Other than that, he's not pitched less than this September 6th, he pitched less than 5 or less than 6 innings for the first time since June 30th. Uh,
He's been
he pitched
outstanding.
42 innings in the month of August. He is, and I'm glad he turned out like this because at first the Marlins looked like they were running away with that trade, and I remember when we first got him last year, everybody's like, "What in the hell was Mike Elias thinking?" And I remember the boys in the Baltimore Battery, we were talking, it's like, Elias had to see something that we're missing. There's
Yeah.
something we're missing Elias saw here. And obviously, once again, Elias is right.
It's as you say, with a lot of these players that go through these struggles, sometimes just a
Yeah,
different eye and a different viewpoint on it will notice something. Obviously, Trevor Rogers, we now know that it was a strength issue. He was below average strength for what's required of an MLB starter. He wanted to go away and find out what was short and that, and he's been
well,
lights out. And when you discuss that trade and mention that trade. Yeah, we gave up a lot of years of control with Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby, but where's Connor Norby now? All right, Kyle
Connor Norby's
Stowers
been
is,
hurt most of the year.
Kyle Stowers is, yeah, fair play. I tip my cap. He's had a great season, but if Trevor Rogers is a top 2, top 3 Cy Young contender next year, and the O's make a playoff run, I don't think you can argue with
Exactly.
it, can you? And if you look at
No,
even if you look at this season, if Charlie Morton had won 3 or 4 of his first 12 starts, we'd be having a different conversation now in September, 8-1,
true.
thinking if we go 14-3 in the last 17 games, yeah, we're going to be, we'll be well in the wild card race, probably nick a wild card place. That's just the story of this season. That's what it falls down to. Them first 8 weeks.
As of right now, and this is even phenomenal to even say it, especially with the season we've had. We're only 9 games back of the wild card. I mean, there was a point at one point going into August, I was saying we'd be lucky if we won 75 games the way we were playing, and we're now 8 games under 500, 9 games back of the wild card. Not that I'm saying we're gonna make a miracle run and win the wild card. We could. Anything's possible.
Mm.
I've seen weird things in baseball happen, but, we're 3 games back of Tampa Bay, and we're actually only 6 games away from hitting the 75 win mark, which, in my opinion, would be a major accomplishment when we've had 28 players, but a total of 32 people hit the IL this year. Actually, it's gone up since you got Kramer missing a start and Sagano. We don't know what's going on with him right now.
Yeah, I think 14-3 from now puts us on 81 wins to finish the season 500. I think that's what's going to happen. We might just fall a game or two short, but when you look at it from where we were, especially when Brandon Hyde got fired, Mansolino took the job, and Mansolino's first couple of games as manager, there was a couple of defeats in there, but since then it's been 500 baseball. There was a time, I think, June and July, we were playing 600 baseball for a substantial amount of time, but we just left ourselves too much to do.
So here's an interesting question that I know seems to be a popular question, kind of whispering around Birdland, um, in social media circles. It's not like out in public, but kind of is. If the Orioles somehow manage to finish close to 500 or
Mhm.
even at the 500 mark, does Manzolino get an opportunity to become the manager next year?
Um, no, I think we discussed it. We actually just mentioned this on our last pod on Sunday. I think for Manzolino to have any serious considerations for that job, he would have had to make the playoffs. He probably would have had to win a playoff game and maybe a playoff series. Um, I think giving Manzolino the job is you're just giving it to like another Brandon Hyde, somebody who's coached down in the minor leagues, and what this team needs now. And this, we keep using the words young core. A lot of the young core, going into first year of arbitration, second year of arbitration. A couple of them are going to be free agents in a couple of years' time. So we, we, we should be seeing the best years of these guys now, in the early
Mhm.
stages of their MLB career. So for me, it needs somebody to come in who can work with some of the staff that are already there, who can work with Mike Elias, but it needs to be somebody with experience. And just, I said this on Sunday, just with the appointments of John Mabry coming in, um, when Manzolino took over, I just go back and look at the 2023 Marlins, the NL Managers of the Year in Skip Schumacher, and think that is a move that I can see happening. Although the the odds don't suggest that. I just think that has a nice cohesion to it. If they were to go and look somewhere unexperienced, I'd probably look at Ryan Flaherty, who is, I think is he at the Cubs now, bench coach at the Cubs. That'd be one that I could look at. He knows the organization. Um,
Right.
is it Padres? Is he at the Padres?
Yeah, Flaherty's father is also.
Yeah.
It's one of the 2. It's the Cubs or Padres. I do know he's a bench coach, one of the 2. He either was with the
Mm.
Padres last year and Cubs this year, or was Cubs last year and Padres this year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I actually I saw something a couple weeks ago that apparently Skip Schumacher is on the short list for, um he is the bench coach for the Cubs, you are correct, by the way. Um,
Hmm.
that Skip Schumacher is on the short list for the Orioles, and he is as interested in the Orioles job as well.
Hmm.
Um, I agree with the aspect that you do kind of need a player or a manager who was a player, but who also has managed. And Flaherty does kind of fit that prototype because he is the bench coach and he has been bench coach on a couple of playoff teams. His
Hmm.
father is a college coach, so he does kind of know some of the inner workings of how to coach and manage. But somebody like Skip Schumacher, which I think would be our dream scenario, is somebody who not only played 12 years in the pros on teams that went to the playoffs, but he also managed and went to the playoffs as a manager. He knows how to handle both sides as a player and a coach.
Yeah.
So he knows how to approach these players from both sides of the aspect. And I think he'd have a little bit more control than what Brandon Hyde and even Mansolino had in that aspect because of that. I've seen a lot of people suggest bringing Buck Showalter back, but I think that would be a move backwards. I love Buck Showalter. Do not get me wrong on this. He is a great guy. I think he, with this core of players, would not fit because he's the type of guy who gets players who have been in the league for a little while
Hmm.
and are kind of hitting that middle part of their career, entering their primes, not getting them to their primes. So I kind of rule him out. Um, I could honestly see, and I know a lot of people aren't fans of this, but I could honestly see somebody like Joe Girardi even coming. I think we lost out on Freddie Gonzalez by not bringing him as the manager this year. That's why he went back to the college ranks. And I think even
Yeah,
if we offered him the job, he'd turn us down.
yeah, I
But
can't
Mabry,
can't see that
I
one
could even
happening.
see Mabry being a coach. I could even see Mabry being a coach. I don't know how well
I
he'd
like,
do, but I could see it.
hmm. I just, as I say, I just think with the Maybury connection already there, and settled in now. He's worked at the front office. He knows Mike Elias. You know, he knows he would have done a lot of work with the coaches. He knows what's going on. He knows what the plan, what kind of the plans and expectations are for next season. Um, Skip Schumacher it makes too much sense for me.
It
Um,
makes sense.
but
I agree.
look, the critical thing is obviously we spoke about this briefly before we come on air. It only came out today before the game was broadcast. Mike Elias isn't going to be the GM next year. Mike Elias is going to be the president of
Nope.
baseball operations. He was promoted into that role in the winter. I think it was January. So they're looking for a new GM. So this is something that going into this off season now, you need to get the GM in first. Then you need to get your manager, and then you need to start making moves and getting these players in quick. So there's an awful lot of work to do. It's exciting because it's going to be a huge summer. Um, the one thing I will say with Michael Elias going up to the president of baseball operations, it kind of rules out my way of thinking. That was if we don't get off to a hot start next year and we get to May, June, with games back of the wild card, Elias would have been paying with his job. I think that kind of rules that out now. And but it's an appointment that the organisation needs to get right because, as I said before, you've got a lot of players who are entering year two and year one of arbitration where time's running out now, and we had a fantastic draft. A couple of those players have got off to red hot starts down at Delmarva. They will be play. I think a couple of them will be starting off next year down at Double A. But you need to utilize the guys that you've got now, and the last 2-3 years of them. You mentioned before Westberg, Gunner, Jackson Holiday, who's got a couple of years extra, but they're not going. I can't see them getting extended just purely because of obviously who their agent is, and the players choose him because they know that he'll back them and get them a deal in free agency. The window to sign Gunnar Henderson is gone. Jackson Holiday for me should have been the one, like Samuel Basayo. It should have been done when Jackson Holiday first came up to the big leagues. Give him the deal then. Like the Red Sox has done with Roman Anthony.
I think I think Jackson Holiday is still I think Gunner's still a possibility. And the reason I say this is the one thing I've noticed with Gunnar Henderson when he talks about the team is he talks about the brotherhood and the family like atmosphere of coming up together through the minors, winning together with these guys. And this is one thing I've touched on a few times is they want to prove they can all win together like they did already in AAA. So
Hmm.
that opportunity might still be there. And I have a feeling if you kind of approached Boris right now with something like a 10 to 12-year contract for six to $650 million, he might be inclined to take it. And the reason I say that is because they know he's better than Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but he's not an Otani, and I think he's better than Soto. I don't think Soto's all the hype, but he's not a Soto in the eyes of what the baseball world's going to see. And I think there's a good possibility if you did that, Gunnar would sign. I really do,
Yeah,
and I honestly think right now you could possibly get Jackson Holiday to sign for 8 years and 3 or $400 million. I think the one we're gonna have the harder time signing is Jordan Westbrook, and as mu he's the
You've
heart and
got
soul of
mail.
our team, in my opinion. I really do. I think he's the heart and soul of our team, and I would love to see him signed quickly because when he is on that field, our team is a completely different team together,
yeah.
offensively and defensively.
Jordan Westbrook's the glue to that team. Look, I think if you go to anybody and say we'll give you 650 million over a 12-year period, fully guaranteed, they will take it. I've said this. When Samuel Basayo signed his contract extension and they had the press conference and announcements, Rubenstein said a couple of comments, but the comment that stood out for me was where he said, "Me and the ownership group have got, the capital to do these types of deals again." And what I get from that is that there is going to be multi-year extensions, there is going to be big money on the table, but it didn't scream to me like there was 5, 6, 700 million there to throw on the table. I don't think Mike Elias does that. I don't think. uh, And if you were to give Gunnar Henderson now that kind of money, it takes away the money that you need to go and get a veteran outfielder, another veteran right-handed bat, another, starting guy in the rotation. You take away from that money. So I just think that with the window's gone, that it doesn't make sense at the moment for the organisation. I think if you do offer that extension, you shorten your window of opportunity with just the fact that you then go back to looking at the likes of, can we get a 32-year-old veteran pitcher from Japan to come over and give it, can he give us a year of good stuff? I think that's what you're left with if you offer that kind of money out now.
It's possible. The one thing though is with Rubenstein, he wants to win a World Series before he dies. He's 72 years old, and he is gun ho about that, and he said he will spend the money. Um, the ownership group has 4 of the top 800 richest men in the world. They're all billionaires. He has one of the biggest capital investment companies in the world, so it's not like the money isn't there. I think a lot of people consider Baltimore still a mid-market team, which they are. Don't get me wrong on that.
Hmm.
But there's money that is being invested into this organization that was not being invested before. And I think because we're so used to what the Angeloses did, that some of these things are surprised. Like the extension with Basayo kind of shocked me in the aspect that I think it was cheap. I honestly think I know he's 21. I know he's from the Dominican. I kind of would have, wouldn't have been shocked if it was an 8-year, $180 million deal. But when I saw 8 years and 67 million, I'm like, whoa, we got him for a steal. And
Yeah,
I just, I think Rubenstein is willing, if the offer's right for the right player, I think Rubenstein will pony up the money. And I really think with the likes of Adam Jones and Cal Ripken being involved in the organization, one as an assistant to the GM, one as part of the ownership group, I think that's going to help with that inclination to help get certain players because one of the biggest things Rubenstein keeps pressing is he wants lifelong Orioles. He wants Orioles who spend a majority of their career with the team, like Eddie Murray, like Cal Ripken Jr., like Jim Palmer, Brooks Robinson. He wants that as a centerpiece in building this organization again.
mm,
I don't think
uh,
he wants to see another Manny Machado incident.
no, then the Manny Machado thing, is that comparing apples and oranges? Because as you say, it's a different ownership group. The Angelos family were never going to give him what he wanted and what he deserved. Look, in my eyes, Manny Machado was probably going to go down as the best third baseman of all time if he carries on the trajectory that he's going. It's hard to argue that. You know, times are different now at the organisation. There is a lot more investment. You see it in the you know, in the ballpark. I've been to Baltimore an awful lot of time, and my experience going this year compared to last year with the changes, the sound system, and all that, and there is money to be
Oh, it's
invested.
definitely an upgrade.
I definitely I just can't see at the moment them types of deals being done. I think there will be. I think there'll be another extension in the off season. I think it'll be Trevor Rogers is the one you extend. But I think the window on
See, I
extending
think it's
Trevor
going to be
Rogers,
Radish.
I get that. I get that point of view, but I think with Trevor Rogers, if you extend him, you need to do it now. If you leave it until the off season, he's going to back himself in a walk here, and he's going to then, if he has another year like he has this year, astronomical numbers. But if you can tie him down to a 3 to 5 year deal, maybe with a club option and maybe with a player option, I don't see there's no reason why you can take it. I don't.
Eh,
I'm interested to get
No, no,
your
I
view
agree.
on. I'm interested to get your view on this one. I was just having this discussion with Grant, one of the guys on the pod, in regards to pitching contracts being offered to pitchers. And my argument was, I see less risk in offering a pitcher a 5 year deal than I do offering them a 3 year deal. Because if they get a 3 year deal and they go down with TJ, 18 months to 2 years gone. If you tie them down to 5 years, yeah, they get TJ, but you've still got 3 years of use either side there. So that's what I think Bradish would garner astronomical. I know he's come off an injury. I think Kyle Bradish garners astronomical numbers now already.
I honestly am the same boat. I don't believe in giving a pitcher more than 5 years on any deal.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not a fan of a 3-year deal with a pitcher either. I've always been the same way because 3 years kind of feels like the same thing. Usually most pitchers, if they have an injury, it's at least a year they're out most of the time because it's their arm. So
yeah,
usually you look at Felix Bautista, rotator cuff and lat injury, he's out for a year now, you know?
hmm
So in that aspect, if it's something like that, you've lost a year, so you only get 2 years now, and he's gonna be rusty for the first half a year at least. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. I can definitely see where you're coming from. 5 years is the max I would go. Um, 3 years, I kind of feel like the only reason I'd do a 3-year deal is if you're getting a pitcher who's 30, 31, 32 years old, and, 2 years are option years.
yeah,
That's the only way I could see it. Other than that, if you're gonna give a pitcher a long-term deal, go 4 or 5 years and suck it up. Take the risk.
yeah,
You're gonna sit there and give a player 7 to 10 years, and same thing, they have UCL injury or they have an Achilles injury, you've lost them for a year. Why not take the same risk on a pitcher?
yeah,
Hitters decline quicker than pitchers do. Those pitchers are pitching in their 30s, they can adjust when they lose their speed. Most batters can't adjust when they lose their ability to hit the ball out of the park.
yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I'm in
But
agreeance with you on that. I definitely agree with you on
yeah,
that.
good.
All right, my friend. Well, we went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but that's because it's easy to talk with you.
Yeah, it's always good.
Do you have anything you want to add before we close up here?
Just thank you very much, Stephen, for obviously all the support you've given me and our podcast. Um, Shout out to the guys at the Battery as well. Appreciate everything they've said and done. Appreciate Zach taking time out of it. his time off while watching the game to come and see me when I was at Camden Yards 8 weeks ago. So yeah, just appreciate it. Look, I love the city of Baltimore. I love the Baltimore Orioles. I love the Baltimore Ravens. Um, and I'll be back out there for. I'm going out for opening day. I'm doing the two. I'm doing the two home stands for opening day, and then we're going up to Pittsburgh for the Pirates series. So I'll be out there for 2 weeks. Catch plenty of baseball.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, and also,
Um,
sorry,
do me a
also,
favor. Go
if
ahead.
you
Go ahead.
want, if you want to drop us a follow on X, we are O's across the pond, Spotify, YouTube, um, Apple Podcasts, Amazon. We're on there. O's across the pond. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, Stephen. It's been wonderful. I can sit here all. I could sit here all night and talk baseball, even if it is 20 past midnight in the UK and my alarm for work goes off in 4 hours, 40 minutes.
Sounds like me in the olden days. I love talking baseball, and you've met Zach, so Zach and me when we get together, same thing happens. We sit there and just talk, and next thing you know, it's hour and a half later, and it's like, oh my god. So I appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. I enjoy talking with you all. I enjoy talking with you especially, and we're gonna get together again. Whether it's with getting on with your podcast or back on here,
Yeah,
definitely towards the end of the season, so we can actually talk about the end of the season, going into the winter meetings, and what to look forward, and see. Maybe by the time we get back, we have a new GM too.
yeah,
But I
it's a
want to thank you for all
priority.
your support and all you all do. It's, it definitely is. I thank you for all you all do. I thank you for bringing the sport of baseball over to your country and talking about it. It's great. I love the support you all are getting. I love the support that everybody is giving you too. Um, Please make sure you definitely do follow O's Across the Pond. You will not be disappointed in the least bit. Um, you'll enjoy it. You definitely will enjoy it. And make sure you do give them a follow. Pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast, you'll find them.
Yeah,
So thank you, Birdland. Don't forget, follow the Baltimore Battery at the Be More Battery on X and at TikTok. You can find me at SRJ Heckman on X and TikTok. And the Final Strike is available anywhere you can find podcasts and available on YouTube. We'll see the video on YouTube as well. So until next time, Birdland, thanks for listening. Don't forget to check us out at thebaltimorebattery.com. And until next time, Birdland, peace out. Thanks again, Thomas. And we will see you all soon.
thank you.
And